grind, to the hustle, the pursuit of wealth. Every story, every journey, every climb from the shelf. Here's to the drive, to the fight, to pursuit of wealth.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Wealth podcast with Mr. Jace Wright. He's in a mood today, so please bear with us.
That intro gets longer every time you do it.
I was going to try to see how long I could go before you got annoyed, but I gave up. All right, we're going to get into things today. I'm excited. I've got our one update. So we sent out our email officially to those that are going to be in the initial group for the Pursuit of Wealth group that we're putting together. First meeting is going to be here in the next few weeks, and I'm excited for what that group's going to turn into. We had like 35 applications. We were going to cut it at 20. We went a little over 20 members because there's just a lot of good applicants, and we wanted a lot of either ones that we thought would bring value to the group or that we believe that we could, really help bring value to. And so I'm excited for what that's going to be. Right. Initially it's starting off with some dinners, but ultimately I think it's going to turn into more of a brotherhood, doing life together, doing things together. I mean, and that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah.
So
one thing with that too, like it was a lot harder than I thought it would be to
hard.
Go through that list. And so, we spent, I want to say like 3 or 4 hours going through it together. We even used AI.
Yeah.
We needed a bipartisan, unbiased thing. So AI helped confirm our list. I think it was actually pretty cool how close it was. Because we chose our list and then we inputted all the responses and everything into AI, told AI to give us a list, and it was pretty spot on. And so it confirmed our thoughts, I guess.
Gave it the vision of what we wanted the group to be, and then said like unbiased opinion based on responses. Who do you think would be the best fit for this group? And yeah, it was pretty spot on. It was like almost identical lists, which was cool. But yeah, we were very selective. Want to make sure that this group is going to be beneficial. Like we want people to show up. We want people to participate. And I think we're going to have a good group of guys.
And so like if you didn't like get in, I guess it's such a weird way to say that. Like it's this high end thing. We are excited about it. But if you didn't get chosen, and just be patient with us, because we think this is going to grow. We have ideas that are going to include everybody that has expressed interest, but we had to keep it pretty tight knit. There's just no way that we could pick all 35, or if we had 40, or if it does keep growing, we can't pick everybody. That'd be too much.
It's too much. You want it to be impactful,
right?
And you want to be able to execute it at a high level, and it just gets harder the more people you have. And so it was really hard. I mean, that was like, honestly, everybody that applied, I would love to have everybody that applied.
Right.
But in order to keep things beneficial, intimate, and as effective as possible, we really wanted to stick to and honestly, before we even went to the list, we were like, I think let's only pick 15. But then it was so hard going through everybody that we're like, all right, we made some exceptions and went to like 22.
Right.
So anyway, if you got an email, we sent an email out to everybody that was selected, and we're going to be rocking and rolling. And stay tuned, because we'll share some of the lessons and some of the things that group is doing on this podcast. We'll share, we're going to bring in some guest speakers to those events, and we'll keep you posted on how everything's going. But I'm excited. And if you're a listener and you made, you're in that founding group, congrats. We're excited to have you. And hopefully we can really, we can match the expectation that we've set. So that's our goal. We don't want to let you down. We want it to be beneficial. So, and I think what we said, it's like this founding group, they're going to help create what this looks like in the future. Like what do we want this group to be? They're all going to be active participants in it, and basically help formulate what this is going to look for the future. So we're very open to feedback, and we just want to make this the best group that it can be. So
it's going to be fun. We're excited.
It's going to be awesome. But let's get into it today. So I've got kind of something I want to talk about, because I want to get your input on it.
Okay.
Because I saw a video this weekend, and I actually sent it to you. I'm going to play it so that we can at least have the audio. People can understand the audio behind it. I don't know if we could actually throw it up in the podcast. We could. Kyle confirms we could.
Cool.
So
yeah, we'll just throw it up.
Okay. But I'm going to play it right now. Maybe we'll just, so everybody can, and we can hear it. but then so everybody knows kind of what we're referencing, and then we're going to talk about it.
To be quiet. Now it's loud. I used to have peace. Now it's wild. I don't hate being a dad. I'm just not always proud. I don't know. I guess I thought I'd have millions by now. At least a dog in the house. Or at least a new truck to drive my children around. I mean, yeah, I put food in their mouths, but how can I get them in the best school in this town? How can I make more money, be more successful, build a life that others are impressed with? I want a Porsche for the weekends and a fat Cuban necklace. I want to roll up in a range, little TVs on the headrest so my children can watch Netflix as we cruise up to the redwoods. I want to... God forgive me. I know I've wanted other things, but all my children want is me. Forgive me for my selfishness. Forgive me for my greed. And you know what? Thank you, God, for all you've helped me accomplish. Thank you for my family. I've got all I've ever wanted.
I know they're just little things.
That just shows like him with the kids. Okay. So now that we're on the same page with what we're talking about, what are your thoughts on that video?
Yeah, I mean, that one, given that you kind of know my background a little bit, and especially over the past couple years, this has changed. I've said it before in this podcast, that concept has changed my view of wealth. It's 180, right? In the sense of like, I value, or I am measuring my level of success with how much time I get with my family.
Yeah.
And how, not just time, how stress-free it is within that time. Like when I'm with them, am I thinking about, the bills that need to be paid? Am I thinking about how much money I need to make this month? Or am I really present with them? And do they feel it?
Yeah.
Because I've shared, a little bit of my background as well. And growing up, like we didn't have a whole lot, and you shared yours as well. But like even at a fairly young age, I was able to recognize that we just didn't have a ton of money. And one instance I'll share that's actually going to help illustrate kind of how this can affect your kids is when you're hyper focused on the lack of money and you're not focused on time and different things like that, your kids notice it really quick. And so like, I remember one year I really wanted an iPod Touch for Christmas, like really bad.
Yeah.
At that point, I knew I couldn't ask my parents for it.
Mm.
And so I had expressed obviously in passing that I wanted it, and then blessed my parents' heart. Like they played me. It was actually really impressive because I was just like, I just want to buy one. Like I'm not going to ask for it for Christmas. I had my own job. I just wanted to buy one. And they're like, well, this was what was impressive from them. They're like, we still want to make it an a special thing for you. So can you wait for Christmas? We'll let you buy it, but we will hold on to it so you can open it for Christmas. And then that way it'll help, create the magic with the other kids when you get excited for, your iPod. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I gave them the money. Mm-hmm. They held on to that money, went and got me an iPod, gave me the money back after Christmas. And so they ended up getting it for Christmas, which was awesome. But like the point I'm illustrating there is I knew I was probably 13, 14 years old. And I knew that we weren't in a good financial spot.
Yeah.
But even more so, the reason it was so amplified is I knew we weren't in a financial spot, but I was also questioning and learning, like, we're not in a good financial spot, but my dad's gone all the time. Mm. What needs to change? Like, why is that? And I remember asking him too. It's one of the reasons I have this sun on my arm for my tattoo.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, dude, why do you do what you do? Like your job sucks. You wake up at 2:00 every morning, you're home by 5:00 every afternoon, and you go to bed at 6 so you can wake up at 2:00. Like I get an hour or two maybe with you every day. Why do you do it? And obviously it was so he could provide and all that stuff. But then the lesson that he taught me was to look for the good in everything. And so his response was, because I asked him, I'm like, how do you keep a good attitude? Because that was one thing my dad was incredible at. And I was like, how do you like stay positive when this is your life? Like, this is not fun. And he's like, I get to see the sunrise every morning. I get to see deer on the side of the road. Like I get to experience what most people don't. And so he's looking for the good in everything. So I've gone on kind of a little tangent there to give a little back history of that because of how I grew up and how money was challenging for my family. But then going through and now experiencing that in my own life but then I lost my dad, I'd give up any amount of income to have more time with him. And so wealth is changed in that sense. And that's what he's illustrating in that video is I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's greedy to want things for your family or to want to give them the best life possible that money can provide. But don't lose sight of what truly is important, which is ultimately time spent. And don't sacrifice it because you'll miss it if you do.
I love that. And this is the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because me and you we are kind of opposites in how we think about this stuff. I've started leaning more towards your direction. And I see your point in this, and I see a video like that, and I'm like, I mean, I saw it this weekend, and it hit me right in the feels, and I'm like, damn, like, yeah, it is all that matters is family and time. My one grievance with it is that people can use it as a cop-out.
100%. I was going to say that. Don't let that be an excuse for laziness.
That's my biggest pain point with stuff like this. Because I agree. That stuff is the most valuable. But you also have to take ownership and make stuff happen. You know, like you can't, I see a lot of guys that aren't satisfied with where they're at in life. They're not satisfied with their job or their income or their, family situation. But the cop out is, well, I am a present father. I'm home. I'm with my family. When they're with their family, but they're watching TV or like not really with their family. And so I'm like, I agree with this, but I play devil's advocate of, could you sacrifice for a few years or not even sacrifice, when the kids are in bed, what are you doing? Can you spend 2 to 3 hours a day with the kids or whatever it is, 4 hours a day with your kids? And then what are you doing in the meantime? Like in between those hours? Because there is time where you could change your financial situation instead of you have two choices. You want less or trade more. We've mentioned that before. You either need to want less stuff, like he says that in the video, like I wanted a Porsche and I want this. And then it's like, I'm being selfish here, is what he said. And so I'm like, yeah, give up the nice things. You don't need the nice things, but you also have a responsibility to put your family in a financial situation that is best for them, that your kids do get, maybe they don't have all the nice toys and stuff, but like they don't have to worry about food on the table. You're not worried about the mortgage payment. Your wife isn't stressed financially. You do have the responsibility to do that. And so if that takes you away from your family for a little bit of time, you kind of have to do it. I mean, that is the man's role, right? It's to go work and provide. And there's a weird balance because our generation, I think we are the most present fathers that have ever been there. Like, I think if you look at today's generation, fathers are spending more time than they ever have with kids and family. Yet we still feel this pressure of we're not spending enough time with family. We just went to St. George for the week. Awesome. We were with the family the whole week. It's like, we got back Thursday, and Friday, I kind of felt like Bree's like, are you going to go to work? I'm like, yes, I'm going to go to work today. I'm going to go work for a few hours. Part of that thing is there's stuff I wanted to catch up on. And I could easily just said I'm just taking the whole week off.
Right.
But I feel like okay, I looked at it as I've spent the weekend and 5 days. So I've spent almost exactly a week. Checked. I didn't really work in St. George. I was present with the family, present with the kids, did all that. I'm like, I shouldn't feel guilty to go into work today.
Correct.
But sometimes we still do. I still felt a little guilty. I'm leaving her home with the kids. And I battle with this a lot of where is that line? Where is the line of,
it's a hard line to find, man.
It's so hard. And I know it varies for everybody. Everybody's situation in life is different. But I'm not saying there is a right answer. You need to find out what that answer is for you. And it's really, it's based upon the goals that you have for your family. And I think that's kind of the biggest point that I have with this is don't give up your goals and use this as a cop-out. I feel like that's the easiest thing is you have goals, and because it's really hard to hit those goals, you just backfall on, well, I'm going to just be a present father. I don't need all these nice things, or I don't want all these nice things. And that's fine. You don't need to want nice things, but is your family in a financial position that you're proud of? And if not, you need to make some changes.
So you mentioned the line, and you said it already, and I want to emphasize this. That line is different for everybody. And I would even argue that line is entirely dependent on what you and your spouse, if you have one, determine. Because men are pretty simple. Like, doesn't take a whole lot for us to be happy.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that women are like harder to deal with or anything like that.
They
it's
are.
just, it's just different, right?
Don't sugarcoat this, Jace. We tell the truth on this podcast. Say it how it is.
It's different, right? And so you've got to align your goals and stuff with your spouse.
Yeah.
And then when you're working on it together, that's how you can determine where that line is, right? And so I'm still trying to find my line. Like, I would love to say I'm where I'm at. What I've grown comfortable with as far as goal setting and being happy with where I'm at is, as long as I'm progressing a little bit every year, I don't really care about the rest. That's going to be different for other people. Like, other people want to see drastic growth. They want to see, incremental things monthly, weekly, whatever the case is. I'm more of as long as I look back at the end of the year and I've increased in my business, that's all I care about, because then everything else will follow after that. The other point I want to make is this whole presence thing of being with your family should not be an excuse for you to want to be home every single day.
Yeah.
Because that's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's more along the lines of like, are you going to be able to make it to every basketball game?
Yeah.
Every football game, every dance competition, cheerleading thing, whatever the case might be. Or are you sacrificing those experiences, practices, if you're a coach or whatever, the opportunity to be there for your kid because of work? That's where probably my line is.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily in the time spent on a day-to-day basis. That will come. Like you mentioned, we just went for a week-long trip to St. George. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's super grateful for that. It was a whim. Like, we were just able to go.
Yeah.
I don't measure that in how many hours I get every day at home. As long as I'm home-ish around for dinner, then we're fine. But there's days, especially in our profession, where I'm not home till 9 p.m.
Yeah.
I've been gone all day. But I wouldn't be able to do that. And this is a shout out to the wives, especially for what we do. Like, I couldn't do any of that without her.
Yeah.
And so, like, shout out to my wife for being a trooper and allowing me to have the freedom to do what's necessary to provide for the family.
Yep.
Because it pays off in the sense that we get to go to St. George whenever we want and make that decision.
I love what you said here. And there's a few different pieces that I want to hit on that I thought are super important. One, I think spousal alignment is super important. Mm-hmm. We actually had a listener on the podcast that texted me today, and that was like, I might need your help convincing my wife to help me, or to let me sell a truck. and it's funny. My initial, if he's listening, my initial thought there is, first you need alignment. That wouldn't be an issue if you guys were aligned on a goal financially, because then it would be really easy to make those decisions, because you both have hey, we're making this decision because it's moving us towards our goal. When you don't have a goal, then it's like, well, yeah, why would we downsize the house? Why would we sell the truck? Why would we do anything that is not comfortable?
It's so counterproductive, because your goal may be somewhere over here, hers may be somewhere right here, or completely different.
Yep.
And there's friction there to where you're going to end up not doing anything.
Yeah.
Or be kind of resentful towards each other because you're not helping each other reach your goals.
Yes.
So yeah, huge point.
You've seen that. And I'm a strong believer on this. Like, the biggest decision you have in life is who you marry.
Oh yeah. 100%.
It's your life partner. Because I mean, you're doing life together. And if you're doing life in the same direction, it's awesome. If you're not doing life in the same direction, it can be really hard. Mm-hmm. And I have seen relationships where people do become resentful of the spouse. Like, my spouse, I wanted to do this or start this business or do that, but my spouse just wouldn't let me. And it's like, well, there's not alignment there. Mm-hmm. That's really hard. That's really tricky. And so that first thing is, like, I think you said it, spousal alignment. When you have a goal that you guys are shooting for, and there is going to be some sacrifices that need to be made, it's a lot easier for you guys to support each other in those sacrifices, because, hey, this is getting us closer to our goal, our overall goal. And I think that is super, super important. Another thing that I want to mention on that is, so my whole thing with this, like I have a mentor coach that he kind of posted something that fought against this. It was like, you're not where you want to be in business because of the person in the mirror. And then he lists down like a list of 20 things of, if you're doing this is why you're not successful. And some of that was like, it was, if you're going to every single one of your kids, like routine appointments, it's like during the day, you're not scheduling time to work. The problem with our industry is that we are self-employed, and the line of self-employment and unemployment is really, really thin. A lot of people act like they're unemployed.
Right.
They don't treat this like a job. They don't go to the office from 9 to 5. If something in the midday comes up, they just go do it. And it's like, no, you need to time block your activities.
I don't go to my kids' dentist appointments.
Yeah. Like but some people do. Like,
right.
That's what I'm saying. That pressure of like, oh, I need to be there as a father.
Right.
For the dentist appointment?
No.
Like your spouse can handle that, right?
Yes.
Like there's certain things that I'm like, and don't get me wrong, I still feel the guilt sometimes. Like, we just had twins, and if they go in for their shots or something, I'm like, do I need to be there? I should probably be there, right? For their shots. It's like, I think, we've got a nanny and my wife, and the nanny can go help. There's 2 people there. Like, do I need to be there? Is that really a life milestone that I've, am working hard to have freedom to go to that? I don't know. And I think that can saying these things because I think there's being adult and realize you're in the situation that you're in because of the decisions you've made. So look yourself in the mirror and say, if we're not where I want to be, don't use this as a cop-out of I'm just spending more time with my family, or I choose money doesn't buy happiness, or all these things that are really easy. Yes, they're true, but they're such easy cop-outs. If you want to feel good in life, you need growth. You need to feel like you're achieving your potential. And I think that's where the deviation is, like, whatever. It depends on what you feel like your potential is. I feel like my potential is really high, and to do these things. And that's where I feel like a lot of pressure of, yeah, can I maybe let off the gas a little bit? Maybe, but I still have there's still such a big gap of where I am and where I think I can be that I want to keep driving. Like I want to come into work on that Friday when maybe I don't need to, but I want to, because I feel better when I feel like I'm driving towards my potential. And so I think decide what is your potential? You said you feel like as long as you're growing every year, you feel like that, you feel like you are getting that growth feeling. But I'd be like, where do you see what is the future? What is the potential of future Jace? What do you think you're actually capable of?
It's a good question, because I selfishly, I look at it, and probably a little arrogantly, I think my ceiling's really high. I could do a lot. I choose not to, in all honesty. Yeah. I really do. Yeah. It's a choice.
I believe this.
And it's funny because Devin, one of our team leader for Top Notch, right? I remember last year, he sat me down. He's like, Jace, if you just buckled down and put your nose to the ground and went ham for the next 5 years or whatever it is, or next year or 2.
Yeah.
You could be so much further ahead than where you're projected or where you are currently. And I looked at him and I was like, I know, but what if I don't have a year? Right. And so again, that's where I don't want it to be a cop out.
Yeah.
Because I still expect myself to grow, which is why I have that. I still expect myself to be better. I still want and desire to dream big and have nice things and provide a big deal for my family, but not at the expense of the time with my family. And you're really good at this. And I don't think you give yourself enough credit, because when I say time with my family, again, I want to emphasize that is not me saying, okay, I want to be able to go home at 3 or 4 o'clock every day. That's not what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. The best way I can explain this is I'm going to challenge everybody listening to this to look back at your childhood. What are the biggest memories that you have with your parents? If the good ones, obviously.
Yeah.
I would argue that those are centered around maybe trips with the family, one-off times, maybe a lunch here and there that you remember where an influential, discussion was. There's some ones that come to my mind with my dad. They're ingrained in my brain forever.
Yeah.
going to a Utah Jazz game. My dad was my coach in basketball and football. I remember when he felt like I was old enough to start talking about like life decisions, college, and we're sitting in the hot tub in our backyard and, talking about those things. Like those are the things I remember. I wouldn't remember if he went to a dentist appointment with me. I wouldn't remember if he was there every single day. Like in a general sense, I would have liked to have had him home more just because it was so far on the right field where he was gone all the time.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm saying when I say time with the family. Please understand that, because that's where it becomes a cop-out. Still go to work, still bust your butt, set goals, be ambitious. But again, to the point I was making, I definitely choose to live a little bit below my business potential.
Yeah.
Because I'm not willing to go to work for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, I choose not to.
No, and this is where you've opened my eyes, because I've had that conversation with you. Like, dude, Jace, you could easily sell 50 houses a year. Like, Jace, if you just freaking golf, 30 times a summer, not 60 or 80, you'd be so much more productive. But for you, it's like you're at peace with knowing you have the potential and choosing to live the life that you want. And I'm actually really envious of that. Like I try, and I'm getting better at it. Like we went and golfed today. We golfed. I almost bailed, but I didn't. We golfed 9, and that's usually my MO. I golf 9 holes. It's only 2 hours instead of 4. But yeah, that's like, I have a really hard time not like being okay. And I think part of that stems from like, you move the goalposts. And I actually read a quote this weekend too that prefaced this as well. It said, money gives you options. Greed forces you to keep running. So before you chase your number, figure out what enough actually looks like. And that actually kind of hit home. I was like, man, I haven't really set like a full number, because I always just think my potential is really high. So then I'm like, it just kind of increases. Like first it was like, when I was barely getting into real estate, I remember actually having a conversation with my father-in-law. He's a financial advisor, mind you. And I don't even know if I was actually in real estate yet. I think I was actually selling. I just started like a clothing brand really early on. Kyle shaking his head. He knows very well. And it was this whole thing. Started a clothing brand. I got it imported from China, like materials, got all this stuff. It was kind of like an entrepreneurial brand. It was like, and I hired my friends to model for the clothes. Anyway, starting a clothing brand is really hard. It's really hard to get sales. And I learned that. Anyway, I didn't really know what I was wanting to do, but I told my father-in-law. He was like asking me like, what do I want for the future and what's my plan and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I just want to get to the point. I want to be worth 10 million. He's like, 10 million. Do you know how hard that is? Like really kind of putting it into perspective. I mean, he's a financial advisor. He's got like hundreds of clients, and maybe 5 or less were worth more than 10 million. And anyway, now, so like that was always my first goal, was like, I want to get to 10 million. And we're not there, but now like that's even changed. I'm like, 10, man, I want to get to 25. And then it's like, well, why not try to get to like 50? Mm-hmm. So it just keeps like moving. And like, the more you kind of see like, oh, I think this is actually possible, you kind of push a little bit further. And I'm curious to see like when we actually get to some of these goals, will I always just want to keep wanting more? And unless I have an actual plan and a reason, like here's where we want to get to, and here's why, and here's then how I want my life to look like, then I could be satisfied. But actually, like, I think my problem is really, it's like, I don't really know what I want my life to look like. Mm-hmm. Do I want to golf a certain amount of times a day? How much time do I want to be spending with my family? Like, what do I actually want to be doing on a daily basis? I like to work. And so that's why I'm always like, I don't know if I'll ever really retire. Like, I always want to be doing deals and, running businesses and stuff. But I think for me, I don't want to be tied down to a certain place. that's ultimately what my goal has been, is like, I don't want to be tied down to a certain place. And I want to be able to tune in and work on things that I want to work on when I want to do it.
That's why I said you're pretty good. Like, you need to give yourself a little more credit, right? Because there's aspects that you have that I would love to implement myself, right? Because the way that you do it and the way that I do it aren't perfect. It's going to change, from each individual. There's flaws with my way of thinking and my way of operating. There's flaws with yours as well. And so the whole point we're trying to make here is that, find your piece and what that looks like. So a couple things that I noticed with you, like, you've got really ambitious goals. 50 million. That's something that doesn't cross would I love $50 million? Sure. Yeah. But I'm just trying to get to one right now. Right? That's all I care about.
And I think it'll change when you get there.
And that's the point I was going to bring up too. Cause you mentioned moving goalposts. Like, recently, again, a little backstory, Chelsea and I never went on a honeymoon. I had never seen the ocean until 3 years ago.
This was wild. When Jace told me that, I was like, dude, we're taking you to the ocean.
I had never seen the ocean until 3 years ago. Chelsea and I went on our 10-year anniversary. We went to Cancun. First time I'd been out of the country. That now has moved my goalpost. Like, I will go on a yearly trip with my wife now, because like, that's just a non-negotiable that has come up because I never experienced it before. But that changes. Now it's like, okay, you were comfortable with this. You were at peace with this. Now you've experienced something a little different. Now my job is to go make it so that is my new piece. And whatever sacrifice needs to be done to get to that point is something, again, that me and Chelsea are like, we want to do this. And so that's either maybe I am gone a little bit longer because we need to save up for being able to go on trips. And so just have the flexibility with your wife, communicate. I think that's key, because it does change. Like, I went from never ever seeing the ocean, not having that be a priority in my life. I didn't really care to now, like, I will go on a yearly trip with my wife and probably hang out on the beach.
Yeah.
So it does change.
It does. And I love that. Like, it goes back to this. There's that saying, like, once you experience luxury things, it's really hard to like go back.
Oh yeah.
It's like, once you fly first class, you're like, do I ever not want to fly first class? No.
Right.
Like, once you go on a vacation outside of the country and do these things, you're like, why would I not do this more often?
And your kids will move your goalpost faster than you can think too.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's the other aspect, is the goalpost is moving. The new piece is moving, because dance is expensive, bro. Like,
bless your heart.
You're going to have 3 of them. You wait.
Oh.
Dance is expensive.
They're not going to all dance. It's not going to be allowed.
Golf is expensive. Like,
I would let them golf. I'll cough that one up. Yeah.
So like, it just be flexible.
Yeah.
Be flexible. But at the end of the day, it's finding that happy line for you. But
yeah. And that's like, the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because of the pressure I think we see from social media. Like, I see videos like that. I see other videos of, like, stay-at-home moms, or all this pressure. And there's just so much pressure to be like these amazing parents. And I think, like, our generation is doing better than any generation before us, as far as like being present, being home with the kids, like providing. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased, but I think our generation is crushing it. But yet we still have all this pressure on social media that, like, we're not doing enough. And it's like, what is enough? Like, I go back to, like, my childhood. I mean, I grew up in a 3-bed, 1-bath house, literally till I left to college. Like, it's where my mom lived. It's where we lived. I didn't think anything really of it. Mm-hmm. My mom was a high school counselor. Like, she wasn't home when I got home from school. She wouldn't get home till like 4:30 because she worked outside of town. So I'd come home and I'd be home for a little bit by myself. Like, and I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like, I think we just have all this pressure. It's like, you always need to be home. You need to be this, that, or you're going to, like, traumatize your kids or create these things. And I'm like, man, every other generation before us, I think, had it a little bit worse than we do. And everybody turned out okay. Mm-hmm. I think you can be a good parent. You don't have to be there 24/7. You can be there when you need to be there, be present when you are there. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, is when you are home, be home. And Bree really helped. Like, that was one thing me and Bree talked about. She was like, if you have work to do, I'd rather you just be at the office and do it. Like, come home later.
Right.
Don't come home and be on your phone all day.
We've had the same, it's perks of our job. We could carry our job with us everywhere we go.
We could go home and work.
Yes.
But it's like, and you're like, oh, I'm home with the kids. It's like, well, you're not really, your body is there.
Right.
But you're not
You
really
ain't
there.
No.
And so it's like, that's different. And so like plan your schedule, and you could have a really effective 2 to 3 hours a day with your kids. Like I look at that, like usually if I can have a good hour in the morning before I go to work, then I'm there playing, and then 2 to 3 hours when I get home, like that's awesome. That's a really good, like, that's a good day. And like you said, what are kids going to remember the most? It's those little experiences that you do with them. Like I think our daughter, she's young. I mean, for her second birthday, we took a trip to Turks and Caicos, and we're like, she talks about that trip still. And she was 2.
She'll remember that forever.
And she's going to talk about our St. George trip forever. Like having her first, she talks about the sleepover, you know, we try to have them all in a bunk room, and they're all little, and that was freaking funny. It lasts about 30 minutes. We're like, they're not going to sleep. But like those experiences are what they remember.
Right.
You only get to have those if you've spent time working and saving and investing and doing these things so that you can go have these experiences.
And you bring up a great point, because this is important as well. And I'm guilty of this, because obviously my history is I lived in a basement, you know, I got 3 or 4 kids at the time. Like I've lived this, so I feel like I have the right to say this. If you don't have the basic necessities for your family, a roof over their head, a safe car to drive, you know, the ability for them to be able to go to school, you do not have the luxury of being at home with the kids as a man. I'm sorry. You don't. Until you can get the basics set up. That's your responsibility as a man, is to provide for the necessities of life for the people that rely on you. Once that's done, then you can start finding your peace balance. And so like, that's where, even though we've added stress to our life because we haven't been used to a mortgage, right? I feel a little more at peace than I ever have.
Yeah.
Because that basic necessity is still there and taken care of. I didn't have the luxury of that before. And so
you did that.
Yeah.
Like I go back to like some of the pivotal things. And like, I remember when me and Bree signed the lease on our first apartment, and it's like, it was an apartment, but like we were paying for that.
And that counts. Yeah. You don't have to own a house. If it's a rental, that's fine. I consider that.
But I'm like, these little things are like what bring you joy and like satisfaction in life. I remember when we bought our first washer and dryer, it was like, we paid for that. We did that. And that is your responsibility as an adult and as a husband, as a father.